Good morning, everybody. I hope we're having an awesome day. It's been fun so far today, just, running around this morning for breakfast, getting Riley all settled. Now, apparently, I have a contact that doesn't want to stay happy. It's the crazy things in life that keep us moving. We have a couple people that have been waiting for me to go live. Good morning, Laura and Beverly and 100 Proof Quilter and Tessa. I hope we're having an awesome day. This morning I was able to get a little quick video of Riley singing again. She has certain toys that when she squeaks them, she just decides to start singing with them. Good morning, Nellie and Donnell. Who, it's okay that you forgot my name. Most people forget my name too, so it's not bad. Don't worry about it. Good morning, Patricia. Oh, and Steven decided that he is ordered the pattern that I'm working on 10 minutes ago, but they haven't sent you the link yet for downloading. I'm sorry to hear that. For people who are wondering what I'm working on, I could actually, if I can get my keyboard turned on, Nightbot should be able to tell you what the pattern is. I hope. Yes! So the pattern is the Progressive Pride wall hanging, or Progressive Pride flag wall hanging. I purchased this at QuiltCon. It was in one of the booths, and I said, "Hey, I really need to have this pattern." And apparently, John from Guys Craft 2, he ended up purchasing the pattern as well in a couple kits. It's a pretty inexpensive pattern. I'm going to be making this and possibly a couple more for gifts for family. So this is going to be fun. The pattern, I did not notice this when I saw the sample on the in the booth. I had noticed that up here was a whole bunch of half square triangles. I knew that, but everything in down here, all of that texture is individual half square triangles. So the layout shows you every piece is a half square triangle, which is fine. We all know that I have triangulations that I love to use, and the hard part is sitting there and doing the maths to figure out how many triangulations pieces I need. And I believe, well, I don't want to say I believe, the cutting instructions say to cut a certain size, and it tells you a certain number of them. But I had to go in and I have to start doing some maths because not everything is paired up with it. So if you look at these, it's got, like in this case, it's 3 half square triangles, and then there's 2 more half square triangles that are with different fabrics. So it's a lot of making sure I grab the right pieces in right quantity. The way that I'm starting this is I know that this row all the way down is identical, and it is 6 sets of pinwheels. And so what my plan is to do is to make 6 sets of pinwheels for each color to give me the bottom half of the flag, and then I can do all the math for the top half of the flag. Let's see who else has popped in the past few minutes. We have Lynn. Good morning, Lynn, and good morning, Nancy. Donnell says she was embarrassed. I still wouldn't worry about it. Names are hard sometimes. I will tell you, Donnell, and I hope this doesn't get around to anybody that I work with. There has been many times that I have been in a conversation at work with somebody who knows my name and I have no idea their name. I will sit and I will fake it the entire time, acting as if I can remember who they are. And then I will come back to a coworker later and say, "Who was that person?" And then when they tell me the name, I'm like, I know who the person is. I know who the name is. I just have difficulty putting the name and the person together. Good morning, Karen, who's also saying good morning to everybody in the chat. Laura says she's going to order it because her son would love it. That's part of the reason why I purchased it, because one, I love it, and two, a lot of my family will love it. So I bought one kit, but it also means that I can just sit and re-kit the pattern for everybody else based on fabrics I think folks would enjoy. Kathy says that she loves sewing with all of us, and right now she's working on Steven's quilt right now. That is awesome. Steven has a really awesome pattern. I've downloaded it. I haven't quite figured out what I'm going to use for fabrics yet. I have a couple ideas, but at some point I will be making it. Steven says that the payment went through, but it did not automatically send him a link for the pattern. Never dealt with the company before, so he's a little concerned. They are, I'm going to say, a legit company because they were at QuiltCon, and while I was in Raleigh, I actually had a few people say, "Hey, look, this is a really good place to go fabric shopping." And I was like, "But they're at QuiltCon, so I'm not going to go over there." Because if you're at QuiltCon, you're probably closed. Dale bought the pattern after seeing it on my program. Glad that I'm doing it because it's a little scary. It's not scary. It's just half square triangles. Half square triangles are easy. There is no pressing instructions in here, which means I'm going to have to figure out how I'm going to have all of these pressed. Is there? Yeah, they really don't say the way to press it, but I already have in my mind how I'm going to press them. Just make sure. Yeah, I do agree, Steve. Most are instant links, so I don't know what's going on. They are probably open. Okay. I was about to say something stupid, and I apologize, Steven. I was going to say they are open today, and you could probably call them, but that's a super long distance call for you. So you probably don't want to call them. You probably want to email them. Donnell has too many whips and too many squirrel moments this year, just this year already. Yeah, I got to get a couple of my whips finished. But I also like starting new things. But the colors that are in the kit, or the fabrics that are in the kit, were gorgeous. Just the different fabrics. This is the pink that was included. Actually, I'm sorry, two pinks included. So this is the other pink. And then these are the blues, or the lighter blues, because there's a darker blue. The browns, the blacks, and this black is the binding as well. So I got to be cautious of that as I do that. These are the two oranges. Camera's going a little bright again. I got to figure out what's going on with that again. The yellows are just so gorgeous. The blues. The greens. These are the two reds. Are very saturated. I will start figuring out the cameras again. I did not adjust the color stuff since I got my new computer, so that's probably what's going on. I thought I did, but it doesn't look like it. And then for the purples, it's these two, which camera made the pineapples look more blue than purple. So I'll have to play with those later. I will tell you, because this is part of the outside of the pattern, is it's basically a quarter yard of fabric of all of the rainbow prints. And I think it's an eighth yard, or it's an eighth or a quarter yard, depending on the fabric of the rest of the prints. Except for the one that you're going to use for binding, which that's a little bit more. Does it actually say? I know it says it. Yeah, and it's going to be on the website as well. So it's between an eighth and a quarter yard of all the fabrics, and then you need a half yard of binding and 45 by 60 of backing, so whatever that maths out to be. Not sure, but it's math. 100 Proof Quilter says she's got too many works in progress too. Otherwise, she'd be getting it as well. Lynn says love the blues and pinks. Beverly says beautiful colors. Yeah, they're a lot of fun colors. That's part of what I chose it for. The other part was the fact that I didn't realize that they were square triangles and pinwheels. But I will persevere, because triangulations, it doesn't take that long. I have my triangulations already printed and trimmed, so they fit just perfectly on the pieces that I cut. Again, the great thing about triangulations, when I was trying to figure out how to cut these, I just basically took the size that they told you to cut, multiplied it by 2, and that told me the widths from the fat quarter, or the quarter yard cuts. Actually, at least one of the fabrics is a fat quarter, so you can use a fat quarter or quarter yard cuts. So I was able to cut down that width, but I didn't have to trim the width of the fabric, because that's going to be trimmed later. So I had to do less cutting in order to get everything ready for triangulations. Now I'm going to have to do cutting after I sew, but I do not have to do cutting. I don't have to do perfect cutting and making sure that everything is in balance and everything. So this is the width of fabric. Oh, then I said it wrong a minute ago. So I made sure that I just cut whatever size I needed for the width of fabric and the length of fabric, which is the distance that they cut from the bolt. So this is the quarter yard cut. So that's 9 inches. The 9 inches I didn't have to trim down. I think I trimmed these to like 8 and 1/8, 8 and 1/4. The only thing you just got to make sure you do is, depending on how much wiggle room you gave yourself, make sure it lines up really good. I've said before, I use Elmer's dot runners. I get these at Walmart for like $2. Maybe it's like 5. I don't know. The refills are, you get 2 of them in a pack and they're like 3, 4, $5. And I just put dots wherever the stitching line is not going to be. So I see the stitching lines are here, 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 and here. So I did the 4 corners and I did the center just to avoid the stitching line. Diana says, good morning from sunny Bermuda. Ooh. Sun hasn't been out yet today. In fact, I asked my smart speaker as I got up, I was like, hey, is it raining right now? Because I knew that it was going to be raining. Okay, it had been raining since I picked up Riley yesterday. And smart speaker this morning said, no, it's not. I was like, yes, we can go out on a walk and not have to worry too much about it. Step outside. Technically, it wasn't raining, but it was doing that misty, you're going to get moist as you walk around the neighborhood thing. So, technically, the smart speaker was right, but technically, it was wrong. So, it was a good walk, though. I think it said it's supposed to be clearing up by 4? And I can't tell right now if it's actually raining or if it's doing that misty or if it's not doing anything at all. So with triangulations, as I have said many times in the past, I feel like I'm doing infomercials for them. And I love triangulations because it's perfect half square triangles. Anybody who's tried them has said, I love these. It's very it is very similar to triangles on a roll, which Fat Quarter Shop owns now. And which those are awesome too, but you're limited to the size that you purchase. And if you you have to make sure that you slice exactly on the line and everything so that you're not wasting any. With triangles on a roll, this paper, with triangulations, this paper is so cheap that I will print, if I need just one triangulation of this size, I'll print an entire page and I will essentially waste 3 of these just because it's cheap. I can print as many of these as I want. So yeah, it works. When you're sewing though, you have to sew on the dotted line and then you will cut on the solid line. I think with triangulations it's the other way around. You do want to lower your stitch length to about 1.8, 1.6, 1.2, whatever your favorite stitch length for foundation piecing is, because part of it is making sure you don't stretch the fabric, but most of it is you want to perforate the paper enough so that it's easier to remove the paper. Bye, Donnell. I hope you have an awesome day. Josie just grabbed the pattern, so Nightbot is working for everybody. That is awesome. So on my machine, I'm using a 1.8. And I'm just stitching and stitching along the lines. Get to the corner and pivot. Sometimes you may need to adjust just a hair because stitch length does not mean from end to end. And Steven, to make you feel a little better, as I said, John from Guys Craft 2 have ordered the. I think they ordered both the kit and the pattern. And they have received it. So that means their website really does work. I don't know if you just noticed what I did, but I did a couple pivots in here. This area is inside the seam allowance, so I can do whatever I want in here. So up until I get to that point right there, should be using my scissors, I know. Okay, I will use this. Okay. So that point right there, until I get to there, I can be anywhere around the line that I want. But as soon as you get to that point, you want to be on the line and follow the line properly. So I just take, whenever I'm around this inside the seam area, I will go wibbly wobbly just so that I can kind of catch about where the line is. And let me bring a sheet closer to you because I'm going to show you what I'm doing. So I'm basically doing wibbly wobbly inside this portion of the line. And as you see, this is a cut area and this is a cut area. So if I'm wibbly wobbly in this line, nobody's going to ever know because it's going to get cut out. This line is inside your seam of your half square triangle. So you want to be as straight as you can with that. There's your cut line, and this is another seam line. But like I said, because we are in a trim area, this trims off the dog ears. You can be as wibbly wobbly as you want. And I have a laser pointer on my machine that helps me try to keep things a little bit straight. Still doesn't work. Just because, you know, me machine straight stitching, yeah. I think my machine needs a little bit of a alignment in the feed dogs. So that's one of the things when I get it brought to its spa day, I'm going to say, hey, this is what's going on, and it's probably user error. If anything goes wrong, I first blame me. But it might need just a minor adjustment in the feed dog direction. I've sewn 4 angles or 4 angles, 4 of the half square triangles. So now I got to get the other 4. And again, because this is outside, I can just travel however I want and then come back in and get lined back up with the lines. Karen asked about a horse panel. Did he buy it from Villa Rosa or somewhere else? And Steven says he bought it at a local shop in Canada, or as some of us like to pronounce it, Canada, and I got that from my sister. But he did find a link directly to it. And Steven, I have to say, your steampunk quilt that you did the other day looks gorgeous. It reminds me a lot of the fabrics in the Ferris wheel puzzle mystery quilt. And I was like, ooh, I really want that. But as we've all said, do I really need another project going on right now? It's March and I haven't done any more of the graduation quilts, which are due next year. So I have a feeling pretty soon there's going to be a few Saturdays that I'm just going to say, hey, all I'm doing is graduation quilts. I was going to say if I do them during tax season, so I've got just a couple more weeks, my sister can't watch it, but she could still watch the replay. My sister, the tax accountant. Okay, that's 2, 2, 2, and 2. I always feel them just so that I can make sure I do that. I have one time only sewn 7 of the 8 dotted lines. Cut it all out, realizing, oops, I goofed. So I had to do a quick seam on there and managed to get it done properly. But it's still a little complicated. Oh, I can just do it here. The back of them, you will get basically all the seams. It just looks kind of interesting, but not really. But the important part is that you have all of them. Good morning, Sally. Steven says it's a great pattern to use with any panel. That's pretty. I love panel patterns that you can use with basically any panel. The multiverse quilt that I did for Christmas last year can be done with any panel as long as you can get coordinating fabrics with it and are interested in driving yourself crazy with circles. It's totally worth it though for me. I left my I need to get a second rotary cutter. Okay, I need to get a third rotary cutter because I do have a second that's in my travel bag. And I'm putting the waist that I have up here so that you can see the waist. Just to show it's really not that much. Good morning, Sally, who finally made it. I don't know why you mean finally because, you know, you're not required to be here. So this is basically the trimming waist that happens. You may or may not have about that waist with half square triangles, the method you prefer to do. And then you get a trimmed up square like this. I still got to do the rest of the trims. And what I generally do is I will trim in half and then trim the 2 halves. So I will have 4 pieces and then I will trim each set. I don't stack and whack these because you want accuracy. And if you have 2 of the, like if you did a whole pile of the individual squares and you had one of them turned wrong, you would be very sad. So I cut them in half. And then in half again. And then you can cut each in half. And this last one you don't have to be as accurate with because it is your seam allowance. Ah, Sally had a grandson to feed this morning. I'm going to assume you meant human grandson. And I say it that way because my mom called all of um, her grandchildren just regular grandchildren. And then, as I said, we have this little line that's on each corner now to trim, and that gets rid of your dog ears. And I don't even use a ruler for that. Good morning, Kelly's Quilts and Cruises. The best part about this is when you have a whole bunch of these that you're doing and you're just trimming and trimming, you collect a whole bunch of confetti. And when I made Mom's quilt, I used triangulations, and however many half square triangles are in her quilt, I had all the confetti and I just mailed it to her. And she goes, "What is that?" I was like, "It's the leftovers from your quilt." Do I need to keep it? Of course not. It's just fun to kind of torment. And the Elmer's glue dot runner, the refills and stuff, it does say the word permanent, but don't worry, it really isn't. Because as I said, I did that. It's got a little bit of tackiness, but it lifts right up. And for me, I just wrote the big paper, then the little paper. And each of these sets of 4 will make 2 pinwheels. So it makes you feel like you are doing twice as much as you are. I'm only going to pull out the papers on half of these just so that I can get moving. Because the next decision I have to figure out is which one is the light, which one is the dark. Empty my little bin. So if I put these side by side and look at them in the picture or in the camera, this one looks lighter in the camera, and looking down, this one kind of looks lighter. So I want to press all of these towards the darker side. Good morning, Jeannie. Shift the stuff back over here. I put all the fabrics on my pressing area. I don't think it really matters which one you decide is going to be the lighter and which one's going to be the darker. As long as you stay consistent through that color. And I will show you why in a moment. Although this is kind of amusing because red gets darker when you press it. Freaks me out every time. So you got to organize this in a pinwheel. And the pattern tells us which way the pinwheel should go. Which is light, dark, light, dark, light, dark, light, dark. I'm going to want to put my other foot on for this. Kelly is doing FPP for part of a still secret for a while collab. Ooh. Secret for a while collabs. Now I want to know. Okay, you don't have to tell me. Sally is planning on trying to sew all weekend because she has Monday off. Sally works in the school cafeteria and it's teachers in service day. So, school cafeteria question. Exactly how do you get the square pizza to taste so good? I want to know. Or do they still make the square pizza anymore? I'm sorry, rectangle pizza. So what I like to do with pinwheels is instead of starting in this corner, which I would have to do if I was chain piecing, I'm just going to flip them so they are identical. So I'm always starting in a 2-layer piece of fabric, and I will end in basically the bulky portion of the fabric. And I'm going to put my stitch length just up a tad. June, I have to wait until? That's a long time. And then I'm going to put my ender back on. And this is the part that's awesome when they don't give you pressing instructions. And you have to figure out which way they should go. Good morning, Jackie. How's Arizona today? I'm remembering Arizona correctly, I hope. You use Big Daddy's pizza and they're round. Okay, so it's not the old school rectangle pizza you guys use. We always loved pizza day in the cafeteria growing up. Good morning, Irish Sail Lady from sunny Florida. So what I like to do when it comes to pinwheels is I want all my seams to go in the same direction because it makes things lie a little bit flatter. So I want to have both my seams to go this way because my half square triangle seams are going this way. Oh, you can't see a thing that I'm showing. How's this? I must have clicked something accidentally. Oops. So, since my half square triangles are going this direction, I want my center seam to go in the same direction. Again, half square triangles going this direction, center seam to go this direction. So it really doesn't matter which way you decide is light and which way you decide is dark, as long as your seams all go in the same direction, and I will show you why in a second. And it would probably have behooved me to do a second pinwheel. So I'll do that before we exit. Just verifying that this is still a pinwheel because it's close in color and you can easily shift your pinwheel around. And then I'm going to quickly sew this. Nest my seams in the center. As long as you sew on or to the right of the point that happened there, you will not lose your point in the center. You could lose it on the bottom, but at least half of your point won't be lost. And since I said I was going to make another pinwheel, let me do that real quick. Because this is where my magic pressing directions will go. Jackie says it's 57 there. Well, let me see if I can mute for half a second so I don't have to ask everybody's smart device. What's the temperature outside?
The current temperature in Marietta is 59 degrees.
Okay, it's 59 here. But we also got slightly rainy. Yeah, my volume's back. Okay. I didn't want to set everybody's smart speakers off that has the same ecosystem as me. It's one of the things that I hate about watching TV or watching other YouTubers is if they use the standard wake word and it wakes up everybody's Google devices. There was one, I think it was a YouTube ad that said the wake word and to call some Chinese company, or not Chinese company, Chinese restaurant. And my smart speakers tried to call. And I'm sitting there trying to stop it because I don't need it to be calling. I also filed a complaint that there was an ad that was causing people to try to dial. There is a YouTuber, LGR, who I think he named his smart speaker Flim Flam, just so that he can say, "Hey, Flim Flam." I haven't done that. But at least then he can say his wake word and not wake everybody else's. When I would watch WWE, there was a female wrestler whose name was the A word. And when I had the A word as my smart speaker, every time she would wrestle, it would go off. Okay, and I'm just checking with my other one just to make sure they're all going in the same direction. After I am done with the live this afternoon, because it'll be like around noon when I hit it, I have to go to the big box store that begins with a J and buy some batting because I was planning on putting a quilt up on the long arm today until I realized I don't have any batting. Kelly's cousin's daughter name is the A word, so they changed their device's name to Myrtle. Yeah, I think that LGR has a um, Amazon device, so he could change the name. I don't know if I could change the name of my Google device. Again, I'm just making sure all of my seams are going in the same direction. It also makes it slightly easier to press when you do it that way. Okay. Pinwheel. And then lining them up. And as I said a second ago, as long as when you are stitching that you are on this side of that X, if you're on this side, you will not lose your point. Some people will go in and poke a pin through here and then line it up so it comes out here so that you're perfectly aligned. I don't have that time and energy. This is not going into a quilt show. So I will just do the hope and pray method. So as long as I make sure that my seams are fairly consistent, hope and pray usually works, especially since I use triangulations and all of my half square triangles are exactly the same size. Whereas some methods you get half square triangles that are roughly the same size, and then you're trimming them down and again praying that you all trim them down correctly the same way. So I'm getting in here and I think I hit exactly the dot there. And let's see how well I did. And the answer is no matter how well or bad I did, I'm not changing it. So if you look on this one, this is the one that I just did. I am exactly in the dot there. And on the other side, it looks like I just barely cut off the barely tip of the point. But when you open it up, you can't really tell. On this one, I am like half of a stitch width on this side of it, so I know I'm not going to miss that one. And it's the same thing on this one. So I'm probably going to have a little bit of excess dot in the center. I don't care enough about that. What I will do though when I open these up is I'm going to open this center seam. In some cases it's easy to do. In some cases, you might have to pop a seam. I think like for me, usually I just see whatever it'll open. I'm going to do the same thing on this side. And you're going to have a couple threads showing, and it doesn't matter. But at that point, you can have every seam spinning in the exact same direction. That's important in a second. See that ironed pretty flat? And this one ironed pretty flat. And looking at them, this is the one where I was just a hair on the outside, and the way it pressed, it looks pretty darn perfect to me. Good morning, Melissa. This one is the one where I said one of the sides looked pretty like they looked exactly spot on, and I'm missing my points. So you might want to be like half a stitch to the right. Oh, Steven got his pattern. Awesome. But the reason why I said to make sure that you have all of your seams pointing in the same direction is when they line up, whether they line up this way or side by side or top to bottom, your seams will nest. All of your seams will nest. So when I'm doing this here, this edge seams nest. This edge seams nest. The center seams nest, so I have everything nesting exactly perfect. So let me sew this together and get this to nest. And then I will get this to nest. Bye, Kelly. Get a fresh coffee before Mom and Pop show up. Oh, they're doing a 6-hour today. That means when I get back from the big box store, I can pop on. So now that everything is nested, this is where everything just now goes backwards because I can't get these seams to all go in the same direction because then these seams don't go in the same direction. So at this point, you end up breaking the rule, but you can still pop the center to get this side to go down and this side to go up. You just get a little bulky here, but bulky here on bigger seams is easier to manage than bulky here on smaller seams. I'm going to press this real quick. Oh, that seems trying to flip. I wonder why your pattern took so long, Stephen. It's like 45 to an hour. Maybe the computer has already taken daylight saving time into effect. So again, everything is pretty flat here. Everything is flat here. Now I only have to do this like 600,000 more times. Good morning, the traveling quilter. Melissa can hardly wait to do this pattern. It is a fun pattern. I'm going to enjoy doing this. But like I said, the bulk of the pattern, if I can find that page again. Switching camera. The bulk of the pattern, which is these bottom rows, is all the same pinwheel, and it's 6 pinwheels going down. So I can do the bottom half without having to do any thinking. All I have to do is basically set a column of 6 of these, and then a column of 6 of the oranges, 6 of the yellows, 6 of the greens, blues, and purples, and sew those together, and I have the bottom half of the quilt. The top half of the quilt is where I'm going to have to do a lot of thinking. Some of them are full pinwheel blocks, so those are going to be fairly easy to handle. It's just the top half square triangles I'm going to have to sit and line up properly, and where it's not a full pinwheel, I'm going to have to sit there and line those up properly just to make sure I get everything right. Not going to be difficult. I'm excited to do this. Maybe while I'm out, I will go grab a couple of my scraps and see if I can find more fabrics to go with this to do a few more of these. Because like I said, I want to make these as, let's see, it's March. Probably aren't going to make them for Pride presents, because that means I would have to get a bunch of these done in like 2 months. I don't know if I have that much time. But I will definitely have these either for Christmas, or maybe I'll give them out for Pride presents next year, because I will be with some family just before Pride Month next year. There's an idea. And if they're watching, they may know. If they're not watching, they will never know. So I hope y'all have a wonderful rest of your day. As somebody said a minute ago, Kelly said a minute ago, that Mom and Pop will be on in a few minutes because they are doing their 6-hour live today. This evening at 5, my friend Stephanie of Quilting with Stephanie Stitches will be going live on her channel. Tonight, overnight, we have our mandated government mandated jet lag, where we have to set our clocks forward, which means we will lose an hour of sleep. But I guess that means you will get to Sean's vlog in the morning an hour earlier than everybody else. Or not everybody else, but than you had in the past few months. Let's see. Tomorrow at 11, my friend Shannon is doing her Sunday brunch. I think this is when she's starting Rock Candy, which was designed from Stephanie of Stephanie Stitches. Tomorrow afternoon at 4, and I don't know if Canada does daylight saving time the same weekend as the US, so I don't know if it's for everywhere or if it's for there and it's going to be a different time here, but daylight saving time excluded. 4 o'clock sometime. Stephen of Bland Design and the Idiot Quilters, we will have Stephen and Walter going live. Yes, Jackie, Arizona stays the same. You lucky people, you. So they will go live. There's a whole bunch of stuff happening during the week. My weekly vlog will be going up tomorrow evening at some point, provided I don't fall asleep from the government mandated jet lag. And you will get to see another clip of Riley singing again, because she's been so funny with that lately. And all the other shenanigans that have happened this week. There hasn't been a lot of shenanigans because work took up way too much of my time. But, we'll get it done. The Traveling Quilter says that they will get paid at work to skip an hour. I hope they don't, jip you an hour's pay when you have to fall back and work an extra hour. It sounds like everybody's changing time on this area, so that's good. I know like Europe does it at a different time, or in Asia does it at a different time. So, as Steven says, figure out your time zones and figure out who's live when. Everything is in Eastern here, and if you don't catch us when we're live, you are more than welcome to watch the replay because a replay is just as great as live, especially for those of us that like to lurk in the chats and not just really interact. So, hope you have a wonderful rest of your day. Get a whole lot of sewing done and, stay happy, keep stitching.